Former Abercrombie and Fitch CEO Mike Jeffries caught up into a diddler scam. Let's go. Let's do this.
Good afternoon. I'm Breon Peace, the United States Attorney for the Eastern District of New York. Thank you all for joining us today. With me today are James Dennehy, Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's New York Field Office. We have Deputy Chief Carlos Ortiz, Commanding Officer of the NYPD Special Victims Unit. And we have my office's outstanding prosecution team, Aaron Reed, Megan Farrell, and Philip Pilmar. We're here today to announce the arrest and charging of 3 defendants. Former CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, Michael Jeffries, Matthew Smith, and James Jacobson on charges of sex trafficking and engaging in interstate prostitution. Powerful individuals for too long have trafficked and abused for their own sexual pleasure young people with few resources and a dream.
There was a Netflix version of this. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's kind of messed up. But I was protect your babies. Let's keep watching. Man, this is sad. Wow.
A dream of securing a successful career in fashion or entertainment. To anyone who thinks they can exploit and coerce others by using the so-called casting couch system, this case should serve as a warning.
In case you don't know what that means, that's like you go in and you want to be a star of a certain industry, and you have to wrestle with the person behind the camera, bed wrestle, let's call it that. Bed wrestle with the person behind the camera, and they're going to promise you all these things, and they film it and normally you never get that call back. That's what that means.
Prepare to trade that couch.
That's what that means.
For a bed in federal prison. The message from today's prosecution is clear. Sexually exploiting vulnerable human beings is a crime, and doing so by dangling dreams of a future in fashion or modeling or any other business is no different. My office and our law enforcement partners will always prioritize standing up for victims, no matter their gender and no matter how powerful the wrongdoers think they are. We will hold them to account. As we allege in the indictment, between 1992 and 2014, Michael Jeffries was the chief executive officer of Abercrombie and Fitch. Abercrombie was a widely known clothing retailer with stores around the world.
Y'all remember that song, right? They said Abercrombie and Fitch. Yeah.
Aspiring fashion models knew that a place on one of Abercrombie's iconic ads could be the ticket to success in the modeling industry. But while Jeffries was the CEO of one of the most recognizable clothing retailers in the world, he was using his power, his wealth, and his influence to traffic men for his own sexual pleasure.
Like normally it's women, you know what I mean? Like it's normally women who have this problem, but these are dudes, young dudes that don't know any better. They didn't have anyone to tell them not to do it. But can you imagine these guys are now coming out saying they did something to me? What is the world coming to?
And that of his romantic partner, Matthew Smith. The charging documents describe in graphic and disturbing detail the violent and exploitive acts these defendants perpetrated, for which they will now face justice in a court here in the Eastern District of New York.
Let's go.
So here's what's alleged in the indictment. Jeffries and Smith employed James Jacobson to act as a recruiter to find men. Jacobson engaged in, quote, tryouts with men across the world where he would typically pay them to engage in sex acts with him. Following the tryouts with Jacobson, Smith would often then personally approve whether the men who were selected would meet Jeffries and Smith. The defendants would fly the selected men to Jeffries and Smith's homes in the Hamptons in New York City or to hotels around the world in such places as England, France, Italy, Morocco, and St. Bart's for the purpose of attending events to engage in commercial sex.
There's going to be something that comes out here real soon about these Instagram girls who are flaunting all these new purses and everything, been on private yachts, and supposedly a lot of Arab men in like Dubai, not Arab, just in Dubai, there are certain wealthy men who are asking these models to come and be there with them, and they're having to do things that is unthinkable, and that's going to come out real soon. You watch.
But beyond simply hiring men for sex, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson used force, fraud, and coercion to traffic those men for their own sexual gratification. For example, as alleged, the defendants employed a referral system and an interview process that did not inform the men of the details of the sex events before they attended, including the full extent and nature of the sexual activity that would be required of the men at these events. They caused the men to believe that attending these sex events could yield modeling opportunities with Abercrombie or otherwise benefit their careers. Smith and Jeffries employed a secret staff to operate these sex events. The staff ensured that the men signed non-disclosure agreements and handed over their personal items, such as their phones, before the start of the events to maintain the secrecy of these events.
Does that sound like somebody else that we know who's in jail right now? I'm beginning to think the wealthy man had this already planned out, and they said, hey, Jeffrey Epstein, how are you getting these people to do this without it even coming out in the air? And they're basically saying we're signing NDAs and we're paying them money and we're threatening their family, I'm sure.
The defendants caused the men to believe that not complying with requests for certain acts, sex could harm their careers. The defendants pressured the men to consume alcohol, Viagra, and muscle relaxants known as poppers during the sex events.
Here we go.
And they required the presence of staff during the sexual activity and ensured that the men did not leave the sex events until Jeffries and Smith decided that the sessions were over. Also, as alleged, on more than one occasion, Jeffries and Smith either directed others to inject or personally injected men with an erection-inducing substance for the purpose of causing the men to engage in sex acts the men were incapable of engaging in or unwilling to engage in.
Oh, my God. I'm not even. Oh, my God. There's some sick people. Oh, my God. Those poor children. Oh, my God.
Additionally, the indictment alleges on more than one occasion when men did not or could not consent, Jeffries and Smith violated the bodily integrity of these men by subjecting them or continuing to subject them to invasive sexual and violent contact by body parts and other objects. As alleged in the indictment, Jeffries, Smith, and Jacobson didn't just carry this activity on for a couple of occasions. Their sex trafficking and prostitution enterprise lasted at least from the end of 2008 until early 2015.
what is that, 7 years? How can you go about 7 years, 6.5 years, 7 years, and this go on? Like, are you kidding me? This has got to be, this is insane.
During that period, the defendants hired dozens of men and transported them to New York and around the globe. They spent millions of dollars on a massive infrastructure to support this operation and maintain its secrecy. This included hundreds of thousands of dollars of cash for commercial sex, prolific amounts of money for staff to run the sex events, money for domestic travel, international travel, hotel rooms, services from a security company, and Jacobson's salary, among other things.
And if you have not watched that Netflix, I believe they were saying pretty much the managers were not making a lot of money at all, and they were being threatening to do, work hard hours. Y'all should go watch that. Then it's gonna be like, it's gonna make sense after. Oh gosh.
Now, this investigation remains ongoing. Although there are 15 John Does identified as victims in this indictment, this interstate prostitution venture encompassed dozens and dozens of men. And I encourage anyone with information about this case, including anyone who was a victim of the defendant's alleged crimes, to contact the FBI. 1-800-CALL-FBI. Now, I want to thank the victims who have already come forward for sharing their stories. Prosecutions like this are really impossible without the bravery of victims who are willing to report what happened to them to law enforcement. But this office, the Department of Justice, and its law enforcement partners will continue to work tirelessly to protect victims from powerful individuals who use their wealth and their influence to exploit and harm others for sexual gratification. In addition to my team, I'd like to give special thanks to FBI Special Agent Amanda Young and NYPD Detectives Paul Byrne and Antonio Pagan, who have worked hard on this investigation in the pursuit of justice.
This is a sad day for these people. Like, I don't even understand how could this even happen? It's like no one is going to ever want to be rich ever again, because as soon as you hit a certain amount of money, a certain level, they're going to be like being looked at and watched at because of all these crazy people doing these crazy things to young kids and people and drugging them up. And I can't believe he said he shot and injected them with some stuff just to get them to engage in that nasty little, what? You know what? This is just the beginning, folks. I think there's going to be a little bit more of people coming out because the Hollywood people have had enough. I mean, people have been promised to do this and that, and now they just can't take it. This is absurd. Man. Oh, if you have kids, if you have children who wants to be a star or want to do well in life, and they are going through the struggle that you don't realize they're going through, and they're trying their best to make it because they see people online, they see people in Hollywood, they're doing their things. Like, I want to be like that. But these people are not coming out until 7-10 years later to express what's been going on, what they had to get through or go through to be at the next level. Is it worth it? No. Protect your children. Like, seeing that Netflix thing with Abercrombie and Fitch, now it's all coming full circle now. It is crazy. This is the world we live in. Wow. Let me know what you think. I'm telling all you parents out there, hug your babies, keep them close. Pull them out of school. Homeschool them if you can. I know that's impossible for most, but something's going to have to give because this is downright ridiculous. Hey, if you like this content, that's just inappropriate right now. I have nothing to say. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think.